Thursday, December 24th. No bell today, guys, so let's just get right into it. So today we had a shortened session and we closed at 1 p.m. How'd the futures do? They're finishing up 11 points to end the week. We zoom out a bit and we take a look. We saw some panic selling in the final minutes of trade yesterday. However, we trended higher through the night and ultimately we're finishing about right where we were before we hit the panic button. So let's cruise on over to the SPX and see how we did on the week. We came into this week expecting about 57 points of expected move. We gapped down on Monday, we struck that lower edge only to quickly bounce off of that level, and we kind of consolidated from there. Where did we finish? Just about 6 points shy of that midline on the week. So let's move on and look at the move for next week. So we go over to the trade tab, guys, and we're going to look out 7 days. That's going to be December 31st. So we're going to have another shortened week of trade next week due to New Year's Day. Now, next week they're pricing in a $61 move. So let's put in these lines and see where we look going into next week. Here are our moves for next week, guys, with the upper edge taking us to 37.64 and the lower edge taking us to 36.41. Now, this is another small expected move, but what do you expect? There's only 4 trading sessions. Now, if you ask me, we still have the stimulus check up in limbo. Trump came out of left field and said he wants the people getting a $2,000 check. Now, we have till Monday to avoid a government shutdown, which I highly doubt that happens. But if we somehow do get a $2,000 check, this upper edge is going to easily be tagged, guys. That's a lot of momentum, and that's a very optimistic sign for the economy with everyone getting $2,000. Now, if we don't get a deal and maybe we have some panic sellers like we saw yesterday, maybe we do sell off and we hit that 36.41. And if we do see those levels, that's a great opportunity to step in front and buy, because ultimately I don't see this market going down at least until a few months into Biden's term. I don't think they're going to pass him the baton and then just tank the market on him. I think the Federal Reserve is here and not going to allow that to happen. Let's move on over and take a look at the Nasdaq and see how technology did. Now, from yesterday, we noticed that the Nasdaq saw aggressive selling. We consolidated through the night only to instantly spike back up right at the bell, which tells me a lot of weak hands got out yesterday and they got back in and we're finishing about the same spot in the S&P 500. The Nasdaq was our leading index on the day, up 0.41%. With the S&Ps up 0.31, it did slightly better. We take a look at the Nasdaq from a daily, guys, and 12.7K seems to be a gravitation point. It's consolidating here and it's looking very scary. When we compare it to our Big 5, we see that the Big 5 today was down 0.11%. So it lagged our Nasdaq and it gave the S&Ps a little bit of stress. You can see just up 13 points right there. Ultimately, guys, this is just looking very, very mean. You draw just a couple trend lines in this thing and this thing looks like it wants to erupt. And if you take a look at it, if we do erupt to reach that high, that's about an 8% move. Now, the Big 5 consist of Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook. It's market cap weighted, and they're over $7 trillion. 8% on $7 trillion is over $500 billion. That's a lot of money to see this index go higher. And if we do see it go higher, it's going to lift the market with it. Let's move on over to the Russell 2000 and see how the small caps are doing. We see that the Russell put in a new all-time high again today. However, it's closing near flat on the day. So the small caps are not seeing the strength we're seeing in the broader market, which is a concerning sign. However, it was a shortened trading session, so you can't take much out of today. Now, when we look at the Russell on a year to date, it's up close to 20%. When you compare that to the S&P, it's beating it by 7%. That's not your normal year-to-date performance. You don't normally see the small caps have that much over the large caps, but we're seeing that in this case. Now the question becomes, going into 2021, do we see a pullback in these small caps and that money flood into the Big 5? Now, when we look at the Big 5 on a year-to-date, it's up 52%. However, if we see a pullback in the Russell, that money could come right into these stocks, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, and lift this higher, which in turn will lift the overall market higher. Let's take a little bit closer and look at some of our sectors across the board. Now, we see today energy was down the most, down 0.5%. What led today? Well, real estate was up close to 1%. utilities were right behind it, and technology bouncing back strong. When we take a look at some of these sectors like the financials, it's flat on the day near, but it's consolidating very nicely. Even look at the utilities, consolidating here. A lot of these sectors are consolidating and they're waiting to go higher. The question becomes, is that going to happen before the new year, or are we going to pause a bit? Let's take a bit further and see how the AD line looked today. And we see the advanced decline line in the S&P 100 was mixed, 56 up, 44 down. Ultimately, our sectors weren't that strong, with financials flat, tech up. Energy kind of put some weight on the S&P today. Ultimately, guys, the question becomes, does software stocks roll over? Because when we take a look at the software stocks on a year performance, this is just insane here. Does this pull back down on a year to date? This software sector is up over 51%. Now, this is the Spider Series software ETF, so it has a lot of software stocks. Just to get a quick read on it, question becomes, maybe we see the pullback in software and into the big five. But ultimately, the big five look poised, guys, and I don't see technology slowing down going into 2021. Let's move on over and take a look at the bonds and see how they traded today. Now, it was a weak session, very light volume. Bonds are up 0.45%, but you're not going to get a big read. It's easily influenced today because it's a short trade. Bond traders aren't at their desk buying and selling the slow-moving bonds. They're probably already on vacation. Now, when we take a look at the bonds on an RSI, this is looking like it wants to go higher. The money flow is trying to get positive. The RSI has a lot of room to run, and the stochastic is kind of in the middle. The bonds on a technical standpoint want to go higher, but when we take a look at the TNX, the TNX looks like it wants to break higher. And if the TNX, the 10-year yield, goes higher, that would mean bond price drops. Bonds price droppings mean equities rise, ultimately forcing the yield on these 10 years to go higher. So the question becomes, are the bonds ready to move? I don't think so. I think we can still go sideways into 2021 before we see a move in the bonds. And you look on a volume profile, it's just sitting right here. Look at this histogram. It's right smack dab in the middle. It's where the price wants to be. Let's move on over and take a look at the volatility index. And we see today that the VIX futures are down 3%. So volatility coming down is a good sign if you're long the stock market. We look at the VVIX, and the VVIX is down over 2.5%. So the question becomes, does the VVIX come down to this 110 line? Volatility dropping with signal equities rising and bonds dropping in a most cookie cutter scenario. Now, nothing makes sense, but seeing volatility come down before rising seems like the most likely option, but anything can happen. We could get a spike with a government shutdown, but I just don't see that happening. Let's move on over and take a look at the dollar index and our commodities. And we see the dollar is about flat on the day. The dollar is not gonna do much. I don't expect the dollar to go higher anytime soon. And on a bigger picture, we just look at this on a monthly. This looks like it wants to come down. I mean, you could make the case like, all right, here's a trend line, we'll bounce higher, but why would the dollar strengthen? We're just printing money out of our backyard at a crazy rate. So what makes the most sense is this dollar to break down and come more into this area here, at least to 2023, which is when the Fed said they don't plan on raising rates at least through 23. So we look at our metals in gold. Gold just looks beautiful on a monthly. It looks like it wants to go higher. It's a nice strong monthly candle. Take a look at silver on a monthly. Silver is lagging gold, which is why we see more speculators come into it. But these are monthly candles. When we take a closer look at it, we can see that silver is just in a nice spot. And we see gold, they want to go back higher. Gold wants to get to 2,000. We'll see, but the metals are going to move slow. And last but not least, we have Bitcoin, guys, and Bitcoin is about flat on the day, down $75. However, what was concerning to me, the GBTC, Bitcoin Trust Fund, is down over 5%. Now, I did the math. If you were to buy a share of this, it's equal to 0.000951 Bitcoin, which would be about $22.40. So this is trading at near a $5 premium. So if you really want to own Bitcoin, download Cash App and just buy some Bitcoin. But ultimately, last time this pulled back, it was a bad sign and we saw Bitcoin come down. Also, last time Bitcoin fell was on Thanksgiving. So these holidays, Bitcoin's going to be trading. It could get crazy and we could see deja vu. There you have it, guys, for the stock market breakdown. Now, today was Christmas Eve. We didn't expect much to go on. However, finishing as strong as we did today, could that continue into Monday? Could we avoid a government shutdown? It's a lot of questions, and we have a long weekend for a lot of answers. Now, the government scare could just be all smoke and mirrors, potentially shaking out weak hands, because ultimately, I don't see the Federal Reserve slowing down printing. I just see them printing more, and you're forced to chase equities, which is going to just melt this market higher until it breaks. You can't be a bear and say, I want to short, and miss out on an epic rally. I'm not saying get long the market, but I'm saying don't be so pessimistic with so much going on in the world. But without further ado, let's move on and take a look at the top stocks in the last 7 trading sessions. Now, today being a short trading session, there's not many good tickers out there. So I pulled up FinViz, and here's a list of stocks that are over $2 billion in market cap and have options, and I sorted by the last week. So here's the list, guys. In no particular order, guys. Let's start from the top and start with fuboTV Inc., guys. Fubo today was down almost 16%. However, on the week to date, it was up 8% this week. Now, Fubo has a market cap of $3 billion, and on a year to date, it's up 292%. Now, what does fuboTV do? Well, fuboTV is an American streaming television service that focuses primarily on channels that distribute live sports, NFL, NBA, MLB, you name it, Fubo's streaming it. You can just see Fubo has been on fire the last 7 days, only to see some selling in the final 2. Now, we have a lot of selling today. You can see more volume today than yesterday on a shortened trading session. That's because it got downgraded to a sell rating. Now, when we put Fubo on an expected move, going into next week, look for 3780 to play a lower edge of support right around this area if we see the selling continue into Monday. Now, if we get a little relief bounce, 50.56 should place some resistance for this stock because it did get a price target of $40. So what makes the most sense is some more selling and hit that 38 level and look for it to hover around that 38.40 range for a little bit before going higher. Coming in next, guys, goes to QuantumScape Corp. QuantumScape on the week is up 55%. Today it was up just about 3.5% with a market cap of $41.6 billion. On a year to date, this stock is up 1,059%, a 10-bagger in this stock had you bought it in August. Now, what does QuantumScape do? Well, QuantumScape is a renewable energy company that develops solid-state battery technology to increase the range of EV cars. So it's in the electric vehicle space, and that space has been quite hot lately. You can see this cup that it put in, similar to what Fuel Cell did yesterday, guys. And when we take a look at it on an expected move, look for 134.03, call it 134 to play an upper edge, and look for 95.5 to play a lower edge of support. It would be nice to see this stock cool off a bit and hit that lower edge before going higher. If the space stays hot, we can easily get to 134, but I'd expect this thing to cool off a bit and look for about $96 to play a nice support. Last but not least, we have FireEye Inc. FireEye is down about 7% today. However, on the week, it's up close to 16%. FireEye has a market cap of $5.2 billion, and on a year to date, it's up 33%. We take a closer look at FireEye, and it erupted on the 18th. That was due to the SolarWinds hack, and it's been seeing some nice momentum since. The question becomes, are we going to see some profit takers? Now, what does FireEye do? Well, FireEye is an intelligence-led security company working as a seamless, scalable extension of customer security options. They protect your company of all your data and everything that you own in the company. That's what they're there for. So we got a nice bump with SolarWinds getting hacked. I guess other cybersecurity stocks got a boost. I don't know why that makes sense, but let's put it on an expected move and see how we look going into next week. Now, if we see some pullback, 2068 is the lower edge, and it's around the upper edge from this week, which tells me $21 should play a nice role of support if we do see some more selling in this thing. However, if we do see a bounce, look for 2406 to give it some trouble. Now, I would like to see this cool off, but ultimately, we don't know. On a year to date, it's up 33%. It's a decent amount. Could see a little pullback before going higher, but I like this stock going forward. We look at it on an RSI. It's showing that it's overbought, so this could be time to see some profit takers, and if we do see the profit takers, look for 2068. There you have it, guys, for the top stocks of the last 7 trading sessions. Have you guys been trading any of these stocks? If so, where do you see them going into next week? And if you didn't watch any of these stocks, what are some stocks that you're looking at going into next week's? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys are trading or just looking at. And if you've watched this far, guys, I really appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. It means so much to me when you guys show some support. And if you're watching this for the very first time, guys, I do this every day. Today was a modified session due to the circumstances closing at 1 p.m. Normally they're up around 4 o'clock. I do these videos, but show some love. Hit the subscribe button. It will really mean a lot to me if you guys do. And on that note, guys, have a Merry Christmas, guys. Stay safe out there and just have a good time. Take your mind off the markets and just enjoy your life, guys. But on that note, I will see you on Monday, guys. Take care. Peace!